These are the top 10 fragrances from Fulton and Roark. This is the first installment of a new series on this channel where we're going to be deep diving fragrance brands as a whole, talking about their most popular fragrances, the presentation, and the story behind their brand. I chose Fulton and Roark to be the first brand for this series because I'm familiar with most of their fragrances, and I have full presentation of their most popular fragrance, Calle Ocho, which we'll talk about more later on in the video. All the fragrances that we're talking about are straight concentrations, so on paper, they should be really strong, high-performing fragrances, and they all come in 1.7 ounce bottles at a cost of $200. I've never seen any of their fragrances on discounters before, so that price point actually does make or break quite a few different fragrances in their most popular lineup, in my opinion. We'll talk about the bottle presentation and the box. They've got a nice box with a nice little sleeve that goes around the outside that tells you the fragrance, the top notes, the mid notes, the base notes, some of the ingredients on the back, as well as the story on the side. Now, something I really love about this brand, and it's similar to something that other brands do, it's every single fragrance is inspired by a very specific place. So this bottle I have in my hand, Calle Ocho, it's Southwest 8th Street, which is Miami, Florida's Little Havana. And the way they inspire all their fragrances by different places in the United States and around the world, to me is something really digestible, something really easy to understand what it is that they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish with their fragrances. And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of my least favorite things about this brand are these bottles. I think these bottles are kind of ugly. They're not bad looking, but you know, they're definitely nothing to get excited about. And I do feel like if the bottles looked better, then I think a lot more people would try these fragrances and get with these fragrances. Like, to me, I just imagine if the bottle looks something like Goldfield and Banks, for example, I think people would be all over this brand. So now let's talk about the 10 most popular fragrances from Fulton and Roark. And I want to give an honorable mention before we go into the top 10 with a fragrance that I don't really see talked about whatsoever. I've actually never seen anyone talk about it, but from the full sample set that I've received, it was one that really stuck out to me, and that is The Window. It's a beautiful, unique fragrance. I've never smelled another fragrance like it, but at the same time, it has this really familiar quality to it. I don't know how to explain it, honestly. The notes listed on the decant are lavandine, ironwood, and gravel ghost. Again, I have no idea how to explain it, but it was one of my favorite fragrances of them all, so wanted to give an honorable mention to The Window. The 10th most popular fragrance from Fulton and Roark is Perpetua. This is a fragrance that kind of gets lost amongst them all because it does something very similar to all the rest of the fragrance. It's a very clean, organic, fresh, woody fragrance. This has a little bit of sweet green elements to it, so if you take a look at the bottle and the decant, you see this really rich, almost turquoise green color, and it really is an accurate color for what this fragrance smells like, if that makes sense. But this is one that I really was a huge fan of. I would personally consider buying. Sweet, green, woody, and fresh. That's how I describe it. It's really nice. The 9th most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is Devil's Garden. Now, this to me really changed the way that I think about various notes in fragrance. I think before I smelled Devil's Garden, I had yet to experience a patchouli fragrance that I was a big fan of. And it wasn't until I smelled Devil's Garden that I said, oh, that's how you do it. That's how you do an earthy, smoky patchouli. And that's exactly what this smells like. It's earthy, it's smoky, there's a touch of patchouli in there, and I only recognize it because that's a note that I typically don't like really much, but smoky and earthy is really the best way to put it. And this is a fragrance that, compared to all the rest of them, really does perform at that X-straight level that you would want it to. This is 100% buy worthy, full bottle worthy, in my opinion. It's fantastic. 8th most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is 226 Club. Now, this was one of my favorites initially, upon my initial first impression, and this is why I wanted to wait to make this video after I had a chance to really sit and wear each fragrance. 226 Club is described by the brand as aromatic, woody water, but to me, this has sharpness that's very similar to iris. Now, iris is not a listed note in this fragrance, but that is immediately what I am drawn drawn to thinking about. In the same way that iris can be really, really sharp, this fragrance is sharp in the exact same way. There's a really high ingredient quality in my opinion. The notes are really well blended, but I think you have to really be an iris lover to get behind this fragrance, and that personally is just not one of my preferred notes. So this is something that I personally wouldn't buy, but I still do want to recognize that it is a high quality fragrance and it does smell great. I just wouldn't wear it. If you like Prada fragrances, if you like the iris that comes in a lot of the different Prada fragrances, and you're considering Fulton and Roark as a brand, 226 Club is the fragrance I would point you to. The 7th most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is Sterling, and I would say this is the most overtly masculine fragrance of all of them. This is leather, vanilla, incense, tobacco. This is just straight masculine, smoky cigar lounge. That's how I would describe this. I get fresh, clean leather right in the opening, and the vanilla and the tobacco start to come out and almost kind of come in phases as the fragrance dries down over time. Now, with a fragrance that would have those particular notes and be in a straight concentration, you would expect this fragrance to be a really, really high performer. And for me, it really just wasn't. If you like a leathery fragrance, then this is like the Fulton and Roark fragrance for you. And even if you don't like leather in your fragrances, to me, this is still really fresh, gorgeous, beautiful, but dark at the same time. Like that to me is kind of like the best part about this fragrance is it's very dynamic in the way that it is fresh, mass appealing and gorgeous, but still kind of dark and leathery and a little bit more challenging than some of the other fragrances. The 6th most popular Fulton and Roark fragrance is Ramble. This is another really fresh and green fragrance. If you like green, fresh fragrances, this is the one for you. There's not really much more to say about it than that. The 5th most popular Fulton and Roark fragrance is Cloudland. And Cloudland, to me, is like the perfect name for the fragrance. It just smells like clean soap. Like it just smells like straight soap. If you want a fragrance that just smells like clean, aromatic soap, Cloudland is exactly that to me. It doesn't smell like Louis Vuitton Meteor, but it's Meteor adjacent in that to me, it's accomplishing the same thing. But Meteor actually has some like spiciness to it that you kind of don't get. You know, if you are looking for just linear, aromatic, slightly maybe lavender soap, that's exactly what this is. Aromatic, airy, light, fresh soap. That's it. The 4th most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is Ghost Trees. Ghost Trees to me is like it's the fresh and floral fragrance of the line. It smells like a flower bed. There's juniper and black pepper that are in the top notes of this fragrance that actually make this fragrance a little bit spicy and floral at the same time. And by spicy, I think I really just mean like sharpness, but not similar to iris. It's that juniper sharpness. And overall, there's a little bit of muskiness and woodiness to it. It's not a sweet fragrance. So it still has that freshness, that organic feel to it, but it's not as sweet as some of the other fragrances in the Fulton and Roark line. Admittedly, there is a genericness to this fragrance just from it being predominantly floral. It is nice. It's just not something that I personally could recommend you spend $200 on. That's just my opinion. The 3rd most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is Highway 190. It's a aromatic, slightly floral, fresh cedarwood fragrance. You got a little bit of vanilla as well as a little bit of vetiver in there as well to kind of sweeten it up as well. But overall, it's an incredibly balanced fragrance. And I would say that about every fragrance in the line. Like they have found ways to really balance these notes out. And you kind of really have to pick it apart. You really have to dissect it to kind of get the different notes. They all blend together incredibly, but that's how I would describe this fragrance. And it's similar to the rest of the ones where when you smell it up close on your skin, you're like, okay, it's there, but it's not really that strong. But yet you get wafts of it in the air. So I don't know where that comes from, but that's just my experience wearing it. I was reading online about Highway 190. People were saying that it's adjacent to Baccarat Rouge 540, which I never, ever would have thought that if I didn't read it. Once I read it, I was kind of like, okay, I guess I kind of see what they mean. But in my opinion, I would actually opt for something like Highway 190 over Baccarat Rouge 540. Unfortunately, this is another one with questionable performance for an extrait. Like, I like the way it smells, but I just can't get behind the strength, the longevity, and the performance of these. I'm sorry. The 2nd most popular fragrance by Fulton and Roark is Roarks Cove. This is fresh, it's woody, it's slightly fruity, but it's fruity in like a dried fruit way, almost like a dehydrated fruit. If you've ever smelled Citizen Jack Absolute or Toomey 19 Degrees, you'll kind of get the same idea where it's fruity, but it's dried. It's not super sweet, and it accents the woodiness of the fragrance extremely well. There's a slight like touch of like bubblegum sweetness that's in here as well, but overall it is a fantastic fresh fragrance. Again, just like the rest of them, blended incredibly well to where you really kind of have to sit there and dissect the notes apart. Fantastic scent profile, but unfortunately it is another one with just questionable performance in my opinion. It's like, are you gonna spend $200 on it? That's really up to you, but for me, I wouldn't. And last but not least, we have Calle Ocho. This is the number one. This is the best seller of the line, and I think that is rightfully so. I think Calle Ocho, honestly, I don't want to say puts the rest to shame, but to me, it is head and shoulders above the rest of the fragrances in the line. To me, this is a sweet, boozy cinnamon and rum fragrance. And the cinnamon isn't done in a gourmand way that's similar to like Ojan, for example. It's more of like a really rich, dark red, more so than like a burgundy, if that makes sense at all. There's also a creamy sandalwood in here as well that really smooths the whole thing out, and it doesn't smell like cinnamon does in like a gourmand way. So like I said, like Parfums de Marly Ojan is like the first fragrance that comes to my mind when it comes to cinnamon. This does not smell like that at all, and I actually really prefer this. I'm not personally a gourmand fragrance lover, and I think that really makes sense as to why I love this fragrance so much, because it's cinnamon done in a way that's boozy and still smells like a cologne. This gets compared to Angel Share a lot. I don't think it smells anything like Angel Share. I'm not an Angel Share fan at all. Every time I've smelled Angel Share, I honestly think it's a little disgusting and repulsive to me. I think this stuff is absolutely sensational. Performance is no issue on this one. I get really, really strong, long-lasting performance on this. It lasts all freaking night, and it lasts days on close. So if you're worried about performance when it comes to judging Fulton and Roark, have no fear when it comes to Calle Ocho. So those are the top 10 most popular fragrances from Fulton and Roark. Ultimately, it's a great brand. I think there is just an absolute undeniable quality in terms of scent profile, in terms of quality of ingredients, and in terms of the blending of the ingredients across every single fragrance of theirs that I've tried. Now, like I said, $200 1.7 ounce extract. At that price point, at that level of advertised concentration, these fragrances should perform better, not gonna lie. There are a lot of fragrances in this line that are fantastic, but I just simply would not pay the $200 price point on them just for how they perform. There's definitely some redundancies amongst all the fragrances that Fulton and Roark makes. There's a lot of just fresh floral fragrances. Now, granted, some are gonna be your flavor more than others, and that's why I think the brand really is worth exploring, because depending on, do you like iris? Do you like green notes? Do you like booze? Do you like leather? Depending on what notes you prefer, you're gonna be drawn to a different fragrance in the line. But there are great options all the way up and down the entire line of Fulton and Roark. My top 5 fragrances from this line in general: number 1, Calle Ocho, no doubt about it. Number 2, Devil's Garden, actually. 3, Perpetua. At 4, it would be Cloudland. And at 5, it would be Highway 190. I would buy every single one of those fragrances in that top 5. But it's a really interesting brand, and it's a really good brand. I see so much hate on this brand. A lot of people talk so much trash about Fulton and Roark online, and I think it's just unnecessary. It's unfounded to me. Like, there is a level of quality to these fragrances. Now, if you say they're overpriced, I think there are many instances in which I would agree. But as a whole, it's not a bad brand. These are not bad fragrances. Let me know what you think of Fulton and Roark. Do you think they're overpriced? Do you think they're trash? Have you never heard of them? What fragrance from this list sounds most intriguing to you? Let me know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos just like this. Now, I want to know what other brands you want me to do this for. I'm considering doing Suspiro, Amouage, Argos, Tom Ford, and Xerjoff. Those would be the 5 that I think I would really consider doing this next for. Let me know. Happy to do this with as many brands as you guys would like. All right, guys, if you've watched all the way through, thanks so much, and I hope to see you in the very next video. Peace.